Good morning, everyone. My name is Tenille Otero. I'm the Communications Officer with the Otai Water District, and I'm proud today to be moderating the panel for Understanding the Future of San Diego County Resources. We'll get into that in a little bit, but first I'd like to turn it over to Public Affairs Manager Roberto Alcantar with San Diego Gas and Electric, and he is going to be presenting the Corky McMillin Best of South County Award sponsored by SDG&E. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Tenille. And it is my pleasure to be here this morning with all of you on behalf of SDG&E to present the Corky McMillin Best of South County Award. This is an award that is presented to a local business or business person that has a history of consistent excellence in products, services, customer satisfaction, and overall performance as judged by colleagues and customers alike. San Ysidro Health was nominated and ultimately chosen as the recipient of the Corky McMillin Best of South County Award due to their tremendous commitment and execution throughout the pandemic, helping ensure the health and safety of our community. We would like to recognize San Ysidro Health for their efforts in treating, vaccinating, and caring for the residents of South County. Please welcome Kevin Matson, President and CEO of San Ysidro Health.
Thank you, Roberto. I hope everything's working fine and everybody can hear me. So I would like to thank the South County Economic Development Council, SDG&E, and most importantly, our patients and colleagues for this Best of South County recognition. Our mission is to improve the health and well-being of the communities we serve with access for all. And since the start of the pandemic, March of 2020, our dedicated frontline staff have been rising to the challenge by showing up daily at our 49 program sites throughout San Diego County, primarily located in the South Bay region of San Diego. Our board and supervisors are humbled by the sacrifice of our 2,400 team members. Many of our staff at all levels work in the same communities where our 49 sites are located, and really are a reflection of our neighbors helping neighbors. The compassionate care in the most troubled time has provided the resilience needed to help overcome the pandemic, and this award is a reflection of the love we have for our South County families. On behalf of our Board of Trustees, over half who are patients, and our staff, we thank you for this recognition and remind you that the foundation of a healthy economy must be the healthy family, and we appreciate your investment and trust in San Ysidro Health now more than ever. Thank you so much for the recognition. And we look forward to getting on the other side of this pandemic and getting through this, and having a new normal back in our daily lives. So thank you again for the recognition.
Thank you, Kevin. Congratulations, and congratulations to yourself and to San Ysidro Health. You guys have been doing a great job as always. I will go ahead and turn it over to our panel now, and just to give a brief description as we look to the future. How will the resources and ways we access them impact the nature in which we live and do business? We look forward to an insightful discussion from some of the largest stewards of resources we utilize every day. Water, power, internet, and waste all play such a key role in the way we operate. But what will these areas look like in the future? Especially after COVID, a lot of things have changed. What is being done today to ensure that we have access to the materials and resources needed to grow and thrive? These and so many more questions will be answered by our panel of esteemed community leaders. And first, I'll go ahead and introduce our panel. First, we have Republic Services, Risa Barron. She is a municipal manager. I'm proud to have Risa on. I used to work with her at the San Diego County Water Authority and in water, and it's good to see that now she's transferred over to Republic Services and working on some of their new projects. And then also I'd like to introduce Melanie Davidson from SDG&E. She is their Hydrogen Commercial Development Manager. Next we have Dan Denham. He's the Deputy General Manager from the San Diego County Water Authority. And then last but definitely not least, from Cox Communications, we have Chanelle Hawken. She is the Vice President of Government and Public Affairs. And so first I'd like to turn it over to each of you just to do a brief introduction of yourself and maybe how you got involved and where you're at. All of these resources are very important to San Diego County. So if you could give a little brief explanation of yourself and maybe why you're involved in the position and at the organization you are. Go ahead and go first, Risa.
Hi, everyone. Good morning. It's really nice to see everybody. I'm sorry that we have to be virtual this year, but I'm just really happy and honored to be on this panel. So a little bit about myself. I have been in San Diego for 25 plus years, and it's kind of weird to say that I have worked for most of the companies that are on this panel throughout my career. So for those that don't know this, I have done the public affairs utility world since day one. I started my career at Caltrans. I moved over to San Diego Gas and Electric, where I worked there for many years. Then I jumped over to San Diego County Water Authority. And now I'm finishing up at Republic Services, which is obviously a waste and recycling company. I'm sorry, Chanelle, I haven't made it to Cox yet and haven't done telecom, but I think my point is I really have spent a good chunk of my life professionally working in utilities, working in infrastructure. I find it absolutely fascinating and interesting, and they're all interconnected. And I think having this panel today is going to give us a really good understanding of who we are, what we do, and all of the interesting projects and innovation that's going to be taking place here in San Diego County. The one thing I will definitely say, San Diego is definitely a leader. South County is a leader in a lot of these issues. And I have to say, for me, connecting all of my background has been really rewarding. I joined Republic back in March, and I have to say, I never really thought that I would be connecting energy, waste, water, and I'll tell a little bit more about that later on in our conversation. So thank you.
Thank you, Risa. And it's funny because you have backgrounds from all three. So
I do.
Yeah. And so next I'll go ahead and turn it over to Melanie from SDG&E.
Thank you, Tenille. Hi, I'm Melanie Davidson. I'm a relatively new resident of San Diego. And I joined San Diego Gas and Electric on their new hydrogen team this summer. My background has been in clean energy, market development, advocacy. I've always been passionate about helping stave off climate change and now helping adapt to climate change, but hopefully utilizing a lot of clean energy technologies, using our water resources wisely, our waste resources wisely. We can certainly have a sustainable future, and I'm really excited to be on this panel with such a diverse group of service providers. And I completely agree with Risa, we're very interconnected, and the future is really about breaking silos and collaborating together so we can get to that sustainable future faster. So thanks for having me.
Thank you, Melanie. And next I'll go ahead and turn it over to Dan Denham from the San Diego County Water Authority.
Hi, good morning, everyone. Dan Denham. I've been with the authority for about 15 years now. Most of my time at the Water Authority has been working with our friends and partners in the Imperial Valley on what is still the largest agricultural to urban water conservation program in the U.S. Came to the Water Authority from the city of San Diego, where I was 10 years over there. A lot of different positions. I was in Mayor Susan Golding's office for a bit, the finance department and wastewater. So happy to be here. I am a native San Diegan, and I did grow up in the South Bay. So happy to be on this panel.
Thank you, Dan. And Chanelle, I'll go ahead and turn it over to you.
Chanelle Hawken. I have government. I get Channel. I get Chantel. It's I also get Hawken. So I'm used to it. But I've been in San Diego for a long time as well. I started off my career at the city attorney's office and working for the first council president, Scott Peters. I had some issues in La Jolla, and I realized that my favorite people to work with were the business owners, and that kind of led me to work at the San Diego International Airport. I did media and government affairs there. And then I was the vice president of public policy at the San Diego Regional Chamber of Commerce. So I've now been at Cox for about 5.5 years. And it's really fun. I get to do not only government affairs, but I also have community affairs and internal and external communications. And I'm pretty proud of a lot of the stuff that we've been doing in the community on digital equity and bridging the digital divide has become even more important during the past few years. So I'm excited to have this discussion about the future of technology with you guys today.
Thank you, Chanelle. I get the same thing with my name all the time, so I apologize. But just to talk about, the last 2 or 3 years, and this is a good question. Over the past 18 months, we have seen a major shift in the way people are performing their jobs, which has led to a shift in delivery of service, or not. Hoping not, right? It may just be the processes are a little bit different. With more people working from home, what does this look like moving forward for deployment of services? And I'll go ahead and, because I have a more specific question for Cox related to that, but right now I'll go ahead and ask that question to SDG&E.
Thanks, Tenille. So in anticipation of this question, I pulled some data, and it was very interesting to see that in general, San Diego since between 2016 and 2020 was actually overall trending slightly downward in terms of electricity consumption. And that's generally explained through energy efficiency programs, and also just our appliances being more energy efficient, and also hopefully consumer awareness. Commercial buildings definitely saw a dip in 2020. Residential saw a little bit of a spike. So it was actually a little less pronounced than I thought it would be looking at the data. It's about 10% dip on commercial, 10% spike. So that kind of evens itself out. I think overall it has not affected our service, and hopefully everyone working from home had the lights on and was able to do what they need to do remote and virtually. I know a lot of my colleagues are working remotely right now, including myself, and I think the company's adjusted very well to the remote work environment, but we're also looking forward to going back to our hybrid, or to a new hybrid system, hopefully starting this winter. But yeah, I think that it hasn't impacted us in too crazy of a way.
Okay, that's interesting. That's some great data. I'm glad you were able to look that up. And of course, now more than ever, now and in the past couple of years, I think we've all been in a time warp. But those services, water, electricity, internet, especially with all the remote work and waste, have all been critical during this time. And I'm sure we'll be looking at this differently moving forward. I'd like to ask the same question to Risa Barron over at Republic.
So we never shut down during the pandemic at all. And in all fairness, levels of services really spiked and went up tremendously, especially for residential, because me and along with everyone else here, you probably all cleaned your garages out and cleaned out your houses and had overflowing bins and carts because we all had time to do all that. But for us, it meant obviously making sure all of our folks were ready to work every single day. I will say from a commercial perspective, obviously levels did really go down because a lot of the workplaces were closed, but still our volumes were still very high from a residential perspective. I will say it definitely causes challenges as it relates to diversion because a lot of people don't know what to put in the recycling bin. And so it really, for us, was another aha moment when we realized that we really need to continue the conversation about recycling, what goes into what bin, and really trying to educate the community on the importance of recycling. Because as you look at our long-term resources, diversion and recycling is going to be becoming more and more important so we can manage our landfills. I will also say, from the pandemic perspective, it was definitely a challenge for us. Many of our employees did get COVID. And so managing all that during the pandemic was hard because they were out in the field doing their day-to-day. And so we definitely had programs in place to ensure their health and safety, but definitely was a challenge for us as a company. And I'll just say in closing, the one other piece, which was really exciting for Republic, like everyone else, we moved everybody home. And for those that don't know, Republic is a really large company. We have about 36,000 employees all over the country. We have about 300 here in San Diego. We literally deployed our call center within a day. And so all those people throughout the country went home, plugged in their computers, and we didn't miss a phone call from a customer service perspective. So we're really proud of that and how we were able to still continue our level of services, moving everybody home very quickly. So, but what I say, there's still more for us to do, and the pandemic is not over. And all I can say is, as businesses are coming back to work, we're ready to pick up their services, but we still need to really continue the education on recycling.
Thanks, Risa. Yeah, that's a big pivot to be able to do that in one day for that many employees. Great job. And then I'll go ahead and ask the same question to Dan related to water services and people working at home.
Yeah, I mean, similar to Risa, the same way that people need to dispose of waste, everyone needs water. So we essentially are an emergency service provider in many ways, and so the delivery of water didn't stop. Our crews continued to work. We were able to transition pretty quickly with the IT infrastructure that we had to get a lot of our staff to work from home. I think that the biggest change that we've seen, we've transitioned really well, and we are going to have some sort of hybrid work environment heading into 2022. But what remains to be seen is our public board meetings, and that public input process is so important. We've been virtual now for 18 months, and the dynamic is different when you have a virtual board meeting of 36 board members, and when public input is not showing up to speak into a microphone. It's rather a call that sometimes works and sometimes doesn't. So I've seen that as the biggest question mark still out there that we've been able to work through, but I'm not quite sure how that's going to stick heading into 2022.
Yeah, good point. Thanks. I mean, even with this going virtual, I think there's one thing that we all kind of miss is being able to do the networking and talking with, creating partnerships and providing your public input. So I think those are key. And those are all technical aspects. So I kind of have the same question, a little bit different for Chanelle at Cox. Obviously, with more people working from home, how has the network been impacted? And what does this look like moving forward for deployment of new service or services?
Well, I have to say, Risa, I haven't had the opportunity to clean up my garage yet because it's been so crazy over the past 2 years. I don't know. I mean, people need water, but man, they really need their internet. And it's always been really important, but critical now. And I have to say, it really has been a big transformation of how we look at our services. So we were extremely proud to have the first in San Diego to have gig services to all of our schools in San Diego County. And that was very exciting, but people weren't going to school. They were staying home. And luckily we had invested a significant amount, $15 billion in the past 5 years in our network. And we had gig speeds available to all of our residents, but we saw network increase of usage in 6 weeks that we projected to see in 5 years. So we've really been out in the streets and doing what we call node splits, which essentially is each neighborhood has certain nodes that might serve 500 people, but now with the pandemic, those nodes maybe serve 100 people. So supply chain issues, workforce issues, it hasn't been perfect, but I think the struggle to get up to speed is behind us. And luckily we had invested in our network in San Diego County so robustly that we feel like we're pretty ahead of the curve. And so now as people are going back, we're seeing that usage come back to our industrial parks, to our businesses, and we feel really confident. It's also an education issue. There's issues that are in the home that we are really trying to make sure that people understand if your internet's not working, what you can do to make sure that you have a reliable service, both with our network and then just some of the challenges in the home. And we've been pretty proud also just on the digital divide efforts to have already had those really deep connections with our community and our school districts to be able to pivot as we've seen internet become really important to our community.
Yeah, and actually, that'll lead me to my next question for you, Chanelle. Obviously, I think we're all super appreciative of having internet service during these last 18 months or 2 years. A lot of us have been working from home and getting our jobs done hopefully without a lot of obstacles. But you did mention some of the educational stuff, and Cox has always been tremendously committed to the communities here in South County and those who have traditionally been underserved. What are some of those programs that have been developed to help ensure access to internet and other services continue to reach all segments of our community?
That's a great question. When the pandemic hit, the governor of the state of California asked internet service providers to sign a pledge on digital equity, and Cox was the only company to do so, and we're really proud of that. And I actually also assisted the state superintendent I was on his digital divide task force and really just giving best practices for the entire industry, because Cox has been committed to bridging the digital divide for decades now. So one way that we've done that traditionally, which changed in the pandemic, was we would actually go to schools physically, me and my team, and sign folks up for our 995 program, and then provide them also with a device. So we made a substantial contribution to Computers to Kids. And we're doing a lot of work with the Promise Zone. We're doing a lot of work with tech centers. We have one opening up in partnership with South Bay Community Services, our Boys and Girls Club, and just really trying to reach the folks to make sure that they do have access. During the pandemic, I believe we gave our services away. It kept going on, but our low income offering for about 4 months for free. So when you signed up during the pandemic, you actually didn't pay anything for the first 4 months, and it's $9.95 thereafter. We're also now just this month debuting a $30 offering too across the board for folks that qualify for any public assistance. So it's been rewarding for me to be doing these things that have been really nice in our community, just to see it be so much more critical now.
Thank you, Chanelle. And we'll turn it over to energy. I just want to also remind people, if you have questions, to go ahead and ask them in the chat, and I'll be paying attention to those, and we can ask those to the panel members. With more and more people working from home and the power grid being taxed in different ways during the day and evening than in previous years, what type of infrastructure deployment is needed? What technologies have been developed to ensure deployment is not disruptive? Is micro trenching and the like feasible? And that, for Melanie, go ahead.
Yeah, thanks for that question, Tenille. So I think that the future of the grid is very exciting. There's a lot of change coming down the pike. It is less led by pandemic-related issues than by SB 100, which is California's law that the electricity sector must be net zero carbon by 2024. And it's also being led by concerns over wildfires and wildfire safety and resilience. We have public safety power shutoffs, for example, a program that will shut off power to communities that are at high risk for wildfire concerns. And so SDG&E is actually a national leader in ensuring that our PSPS events are relatively isolated to small areas, so that we can really look at weather patterns and see where's a high risk region. And so that's in comparison to say up north, where millions of customers might lose power in a PSPS event. So we're very proud of the investments that we've made in wildfire safety. And then our other main focus of investments in the future is clean energy. So I'm really lucky to be in the Energy Innovation Group at SDG&E, and that group is made up of clean transportation, so electric vehicles, hydrogen vehicles, clean fuel vehicles. It's made up of mostly energy storage. So energy storage, how do we withdraw renewables when they're available because they're intermittent, and then dispatch them to the grid when folks need to use the clean energy. And then also hydrogen, which is really just nascent. We're at the very beginning of the hydrogen, I would call it revolution, but we see that in probably the next 25 years, hydrogen is going to be a very important part of our energy system, both on the gas side as well as the electric side, to provide firm, reliable generating power. And hydrogen is something that can be made using renewable energy and water. So great to have water folks on the line. We're going to need to work with you very closely. And so we're seeing more and more renewables being built out in California, more resiliency efforts with microgrids, with energy storage. SDG&E, I think, has about 8 energy storage projects in development right now. They're really exciting. I recently got to visit one, we call it Top Gun because it's at Miramar. And so we visited a 30 megawatt battery site, and there's jets flying overhead. It was actually doing its job. It was dispatching 30 megawatts of electricity to the grid at 2 p.m. When folks have their air conditioning on. And so it's really exciting to see these technologies that are becoming more and more low cost over time, and also being able to support our grid with low carbon energy. So we're excited for the future ahead. It's going to be it's a big transition. Our infrastructure has not changed significantly in this country for over 100 years. And we need to change it. We know that. It's great to have the commitment from the state, and SDG&E is here to support that on the energy side.
Thanks, Melanie. Yeah, infrastructure is big. Funding and support also are big ones, with all of the resources that are available in the county. I know you said you're going to be needing water, so I'm going to transfer or take it over to a more timely topic on water, and this would be for Dan. Over the past week, we have seen the reintroduction of voluntary conservation measures. How does the drought affect the region, as well as our customers in South County? What should we expect on the horizon? And what types of programs are available to improve infrastructure within our facilities?
So I think the short answer is really that San Diego is in good shape, and arguably, as it relates to South County, it's probably in even better shape than the whole region because of the groundwater that the South Bay has. When it rains in the Cuyamacas, that water can be stored locally, and it really does provide a really significant buffer to drought and affordability for the South Bay region. But aside from that, we have long-term agreements for highly reliable water. I referenced this earlier in my bio and introduction. The conservation programs that we have with the farmers in the Imperial Valley is what's keeping the San Diego region out of cutbacks. There are portions of Northern California that are literally without water, and we're now starting to see portions of LA County that are being told to cut back their water by as much as 40%. So our region, from Camp Pendleton down to Mexico, we have a cheap and reliable source of supply. In many ways, we've paid a premium for that reliability. Taking salt, for instance, out of ocean water is not cheap, but it is what has made it has put us in the position that we're in today, where we don't have to tell businesses and our economic engine to cut back by 40%. That's a lesson that we learned back 2 decades ago, and a lot of our civic leaders and business leaders and ratepayers, said never again. And that's why we went on this 2-decade march towards diversification of our water supply portfolio and reliability. So I think that that's kind of the overview. In terms of what's on the horizon for everyone, I think in the water industry, I think it was Melanie who made some reference to silos earlier. I think that I would challenge all water agencies to stop thinking in a siloed manner and share resources. Whether that's a water agency in San Diego sharing water with a Northern California agency. In fact, we're on the verge of providing water that we have stored actually in Northern California to an agency who is really hurting. And so thinking about our state and our whole Colorado River Basin as one, as opposed to just one water agency, I think is really what's on the horizon.
Okay, thank you, Dan. Yeah, I think it's a lot of times difficult for people to understand because we have mandates coming from the state, and that we are not under mandates yet, but we're under voluntary conservation. So people, there's a lot of confusion with the messaging out there. So I think it's important for people to understand that San Diego has done so well with all its investments. So hopefully, if we get everybody to conserve voluntarily, we won't be under mandates, but you never know. And then for Risa, actually, this kind of ties to one of the questions I was going to ask you, and it's also in the chat from Denise Price. She said, I heard about the new composting facility at the Otay landfill. When will that be open, and who gets the compost?
So I'm just going to back up just for a moment, just to put things into perspective for people and what's happening here in the state of California. For those that don't know this, starting January 1st, we're going to be able to recycle our food waste. It's SB 1383, and it was signed into law. And all of the waste providers are in the process of putting together programs for the municipalities. Some of them are obviously cities are going to be designing those programs. Others are going to be from the haulers themselves. But here in Chula Vista, Republic is the franchise contractor. And we are going to be providing food waste recycling for both residential and commercial customers. We just rolled out our bins. We're rolling out our bins literally as we speak. And everyone in Chula Vista will get their green waste bin. And starting in January, they're going to be able to put their food waste with their yard waste. Where is that all going to go? Well, what we have just done, and we just finished building, is a composting facility at the Otai landfill. It has, right now it can take over 100 tons a day. It's going to be able to grow to 200 tons a day. And basically, that facility is going to produce compost that will go back to the Chula Vista community. So we'll have free compost days. People can pick up compost, and the city will be able to use it for their own facilities. Just some interesting facts about the composting facility. It's the first of its kind that is actually completely solar powered. It's completely off the grid. So for us, that's really, from an innovation perspective, it's really exciting. We do manage about 12 composting facilities throughout the country, but we have 6 here in California and have plans to grow more in the coming years, since this is going to be becoming a growing issue. But if you think about composting in general, if more of us can recycle our food waste, it's really going to help with the methane that's being created in the landfill. So from a climate change perspective, really can have a tremendous impact in a positive way. And then certainly it's a way for us to help continue the life of the landfill, because we're doing more recycling. So very exciting stuff. We just had our kickoff about a month ago, and we have more plans to build other facilities in the coming years, but it's going to be a really big infrastructure push for us moving forward with food waste.
Thank you, Risa. It seems like I fell off for a second. I don't know if any of you all did, but and you may have addressed this, but just as a follow-up, and I know this is a question that a lot of people from South County have. Over the past couple of years, there have been a series of approaches implemented to encourage a quicker diversion of waste from our landfills. If nothing were to be done, what is the long-term status of our landfill here in San Diego County? In South County, sorry.
From a South County perspective. So obviously managing a landfill it's an art, it's engineering. There's a lot that goes into it. I've learned a lot in the coming months as I've been up there, and from an engineering perspective, what they all have to do. But we basically are always trying to divert more and more of waste into recycling. So that's really obviously a number priority. This composting facility is going to be a really big step forward in terms of helping us manage our landfill and achieve our climate action goals. If we do a good job, and it's not just Republic, it's really all of us, the community really doing a good job with recycling and food waste recycling, we could see that the landfill could last longer. So we're hoping maybe up to 15 years, but obviously that really is all going to depend on how we do in terms of our recycling and diversion rates. So don't quote me on the years on that, but I think our current goal really is to try to do the big push in education and outreach on recycling, so we can maintain a greater life for a landfill. Just trying to imagine how hard it is for all of us to permit and site projects in San Diego County. Do you think it would be really
in California?
In California. So imagine us trying to site a landfill. We're trying to avoid that, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. Thank you, Risa.
Sure.
And we have about 6 minutes left. So I'm going to go ahead, and there was a question also asked to Chanelle over chat, and she did answer it, but just so in case others didn't see it, somebody had asked, does Cox have any low-cost programs for seniors? And Chanelle said, yes, our Connect Assist program is available to anyone who is low income, and that they also work with Oasis on education on digital literacy and tech center focused on seniors. So with the 5 minutes, a little over 5 minutes we have, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to each of you. We'll start with Chanelle, just to say any final words that you'd like, looking to the future, if there's any challenges or opportunities or any specific programs, and how businesses can ensure their future demands are proactively addressed. So go ahead and answer that, Chanelle.
Sure thing. Thank you so much for having me. Any follow-up to, we're really proud to have stolen Albert Velasquez from the city of Chula Vista. But we're ready for the commercial, for the business development in Otai and Chula Vista and South Bay, whether it's Tacos El Gordo, a smaller business, to Sharp Healthcare, which is a huge client of ours. We have the bandwidth and the capacity for growth. And I'll just say, with the Internet of Things and everything talking to each other, whether it's a fridge talking to your smartphone, we're going to continue to see the growth and demand for our services, and we're prepared for that. I will end and say those HD cameras use a lot of bandwidth, so be careful on those, and you might want to switch those off. But we are ready, and we're here, and we're a leader in San Diego with the state. I serve on the Wildfire Council for SDG&E. We also need to provide backup power during those public safety power shutoffs. People want to be able to, watch TV and have internet. So we work really closely with others in the county, and we are really ahead in San Diego County. I think we beat ourselves up about a lot of things, but as you can see, when I'm up in Sacramento, they talk about all of the great things that we're doing here. So really proud to be a San Diego County resident. Thank you for having me.
Thank you, Chanelle. And Melanie, go ahead and if there's anything else that you'd like to include, we have about 3 minutes and 50 seconds left.
Okay, I'll be quick. So I just wanted to say, SDG&E is very excited to continue to help San Diego build its clean energy future, its resilient, affordable clean energy future. I think those are the 3 words that are most important to us. And I wanted to say that companies have some options with SDG&E. If you want to go green, we have some really neat green tariffs. We're working on a renewable natural gas tariff. So if you're interested in decarbonizing even your gas, hopefully that will be available to you relatively soon. And thanks for having us. And I look forward to collaborating with everyone on this call. I'm like, Risa, let's tap your landfill for natural gas and green hydrogen. And Dan, let's get some water developed for electrolyzers so we can make hydrogen in our area. So I just see a lot of areas for collaboration, and it's been really fun.
Thank you, Melanie. Yeah, collaboration is big, especially in this day and age, and with technology and the Internet of Things as well. I'll go ahead and turn it over to Risa.
So I'm just going to thank you for the opportunity to speak. And so, yes, I'm going to challenge all of us. We are embarking on some new projects here at Republic, where we're going to basically take food waste and create energy via wastewater treatment plants. So basically the trifecta of infrastructure. But what we have been doing, and we've been doing this in the Bay Area, we're looking at building one here in San Diego, is to take the food waste recycling, slurry, take that, inject that into a wastewater treatment plant, and from there it will create energy that can be used at the facility or used at the municipality. We're really excited about this. Like I said, we have 2 right now in the Bay Area. We're looking at expanding that further, but I do think there's lots of opportunities for all of us to collaborate moving forward. So I hope we can continue the conversation.
Thanks, Risa. And Dan, I'll go ahead and turn it over to you if there's anything specific you'd like to highlight. And if not, where and for what type of infrastructure investment would we as communities be best to focus our advocacy on? You can go either way. Or add your point. You have 1 minute and 40 seconds.
All right, here we go. I should get the elevator speech out. No, I guess the future of water in San Diego really is reuse. We've done a lot over the past several decades as it relates to conservation out in the Imperial Valley, desalinating ocean water. But really what is the next increment of water for our region is reuse, potable reuse. This is treating our sewage into drinking water standards. That's at the forefront of what the city of San Diego is doing. Our East County agencies in Helix and Padre Dam, in collaboration with the county and the city of El Cajon, as well as projects up in Oceanside and Fallbrook. So that's super important. That water is more expensive, but it is resilient and it is local. And so that's what the focus, I think, of our advocacy efforts should be.
Yeah, thank you, Dan. Reuse is a big one, and really expanding some of the regulations to get that out there. So I appreciate that. I appreciate all of you being on this panel. It's a wealth of information, and hopefully all of our participants were able to get something from this. Thanks again. It looks like we have about 20 seconds, and then we'll probably be shut off. And I don't see any other questions in the chat. So thank you all again for being here.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
It's good to see you all. We'll see you next time in person.
Thank you.
Thank you.